parachute jump. 40,000 feet, no cloud. I'm falling at the speed of sound.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm tuning in live from Chef Perry Cheung's home kitchen in Hollywood, California. My name is Bianca Collins. I'm the curator of public programs for the Fowler Museum at UCLA. Thank you for joining us today or tonight, depending on where it is you're tuning in from across the world. The Fowler Museum is pleased to present today's program as part of our Global Cuisine cooking lessons, which offer the opportunity to learn how LA's favorite international restaurants cook up their most famous, easy-to-make dishes in live cooking classes led by their chefs on Zoom. It turns out when food is your love language, some secrets are too good not to share. In honor of American, Asian, and Pacific Islander Month, the Fowler is pleased to present today's cooking lesson with Dumpling Monster, a Shanghainese-inspired restaurant marked by LA's busy yet laid-back vibes. It features a straightforward menu of traditional and classic Chinese fare, locally sourced ingredients, and an elevated chef-driven approach. We are with Dumpling Monster's head chef and owner, Perry Cheung, to learn how to make his famous pork and shrimp wontons and chicken chive dumplings, both boiled and pan-fried, complete, of course, with dipping sauce. And we hope that you'll learn what you shared today with your friends and family over this upcoming Memorial Day weekend. If you have any questions during this program, please submit them through the Q&A function found at the bottom of your Zoom screen. I can see 2 people already found it, and we'll do our best to answer them as quickly as we can. All right, so we sent you guys the ingredients in your confirmation email. Hopefully you showed up with them prepared and ready to cook. Let's do this thing.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining at my house. This is definitely a first for me cooking at home. But I have a very ambitious lesson for you guys today. So we are doing 3 dumplings. We're going to be doing the wontons, and I'm going to be showing you how to boil the chicken and chives wontons, and at the same time you can pan fry them the same thing. But throughout this whole lesson, we're going to go through some techniques and different variations if we have time. But anyway, let's get started.
Do we want to review what we've got going on here?
I totally skipped that.
It's all right.
Well, so we're going to start. For today's lesson, I'm going to decide to start with our sauce first. So here, I got the sauces already. This is the cup of the soy sauce. There's some sugar here to balance out the salt, sesame oil to give it some fat. And this is the hot sauce that I put inside the ingredient list. And I love this hot sauce because it's not that salty, and it has this beautiful oil that kind of like will shimmer. And you'll see later when you build this sauce. This was a little tough one for everyone. It's the vegetarian stir-fry sauce. And I use it in a lot of my recipes because it's not as salty as oyster sauce. But if you have oyster sauce, I would say reduce whatever I put. So if I put half a cup, you put 1/4 cup. Because the oyster sauce is extremely salty. This is a little sweeter, and it's perfect for cooking and stir frying. So, and clearly for making wontons and fillings.
Awesome.
Also, I did not put this inside, but I also put, I'm going to put ginger today. But you'll see everything come up together, and that's another variation. And over here, we got the chicken and chive dumplings. So this is a boneless, skinless chicken thigh meat, and we use chicken thigh meat because it's a little better than chicken breast meat. Chicken breast meat, it comes out a little dry. With the chicken thigh, it has a little more fat, and it can like carry over the flavor much better. So also, I don't know if you guys are chopping the green chives at home. It has this crazy aroma that can be very confusing if you step out the room and you walk back in. But when you put it inside the filling, it's actually amazing. So don't let it deter you from using it. If you cannot find Chinese chives, I also put green onions. So that's your option. And here we got the soy sauce. We have the cornstarch, canola oil, sesame oil. This is the pepper we're going to shear across so we're just going to pinch this later on. Some oyster, same thing. You got the vegetarian stir-fry sauce that I love using so much in all my ingredients. And then here we have the ginger. And this is kosher salt, fasted kosher salt to balance everything out. Some sugar and the sesame seeds for the sauce. Also variation. Do not put it in.
Okay.
And here we have the ground pork. I requested you guys to get a little fattier pork because if you get the really lean pork, again, you're missing a lot of that fat that carries over all this flavor that you're putting in there. Back to the ingredients, we got the shrimp. If you're allergic to shrimp, you don't use the shrimp, you just take that out. But the shrimp, I fine chopped it, so that way It gives it a nice texture to it, and you'll see, and it gives it a nice color when you cut into it, when it cooks, and you see it. Then we also have some cilantro and green onion. I like my stuff a little herby, so I included that in. So same thing, soy sauce, vegetarian stir-fry sauce, some sugar, cornstarch, sesame oil, canola oil, and some ginger. Oh, also I put water chestnuts. So water chestnuts, it gives it perfect texture, and it also carries over flavor. And with my wontons, I like a little crunchy. But if you cannot find water chestnut, you could use jicama, which is a great alternative.
All right, let's see if anyone's got any questions. We're seeing, oh, shrimp cracked is a fine chop, right?
Fine chop, yeah.
Okay, and can people use wonton wrappers for both?
You could use wonton wrappers for both. Basically, but typically the chicken and chive dumpling, that's more so of a boiled dumpling. Even with pan frying the chicken and chive dumpling today, we're kind of changing it a little bit because usually it would just be chicken.
Okay, so the wonton wrappers are better for boiling?
Wonton wrappers are better for boiling, so you can't quite pan fry it. So I just advise on pan frying a wonton wrapper.
Okay, yeah. And can someone use bamboo shoots instead of water chestnuts?
Oh my God, yeah, you can totally use bamboo shoots. Bamboo shoots are amazing alternative also. You'll find it in a lot of ingredients, a lot of dumpling recipes like shumai and hakao. You know, some people, you probably might ask like, oh, how come I don't have dry shiitake mushrooms here? Again, that's a variation. And another variation is also adding black wood ear mushrooms, and those are amazing texture also.
Okay.
But basically this is all kind of like a base. So like you could take things out, add things in, and as you please pretty much. So if you're not a fan of water chestnuts, bamboo shoots are perfect. I'm really happy you brought that up.
All right.
Is there any more questions?
No, so is the water, should we have water on the fire right now?
Yes, let's go ahead and add some water to the fire. And while that's going on, I'd like to put a dash of salt just to give it a little saltiness to it. Not salt like the sea, but just enough salt so that it could kind of just give it a little flavor, because you're gonna have a dipping sauce with these things, so you don't. It's not like pasta where you really need to salt the water that much.
Right.
I highly suggest putting a little oil in there, because the oil, it's kind of like this is basically like pasta.
And what kind of oil did you use?
I use canola oil. I like using canola oil because it's kind of like pretty base. It doesn't quite give too much flavor off. It's very neutral. And when we pan fry later, it's perfect because it has a high smoke point. So don't use olive oil to pan fry later when we do that. So we're gonna keep this going in the back. And like I said, we're gonna start doing the sauce first.
And should the water be trying to get to a boil, or is it trying to get to a simmer? Would you have it on medium heat?
Right now I have it at a simmer. I think at some point halfway into all this stuff getting put together, I'm gonna probably blast it up a little bit. But you just keep it at a simmer, so that way by the time we mix all this stuff together and actually drop the dumplings into the water, we're not gonna have no water left.
Okay, yeah, and how much water should they put in there?
You should fill a pot pretty like 3/4 up, 3/4 up, so that way you have room. The dumplings have room to move around. We're not gonna be cooking like a gang of dumplings. We're probably just gonna do like 6 to 8, just enough to try it out to see what it looks like and get a good feel for it. And then afterwards, these recipes, I put a pound in these recipes, so you're gonna have more than enough filling to
keep going,
to freeze, to do later, to you know, if you have nothing to do and you have kids at home, keep them busy, you can have them make dumplings and slave them a little bit, and then put it in the freezer. And then after you freeze it, you fold it and freeze it. It's lasts you pretty long, as long as you have it covered pretty well.
Right.
So let's go ahead and do the sauce. Got the soy sauce here. Got the sugar, and there's really no direction to it. Pretty much all this stuff, you can just add it in all at once. I got this. I want to make sure I get all that oil, because that's the good stuff. Then we got the oyster sauce. Not oyster sauce, sorry, vegetarian stir-fry sauce, and I guess oyster sauce if you could not have found this ingredient. Put some ginger here. Sorry, this is the variation. So if you have ginger, you can throw it in. If you don't, I'm just gonna put this in here anyway. We got sesame oil.
What do you think about those like frozen prepared ginger cubes?
You could definitely do ginger cubes. So, you know, the ginger is such a weird thing when you go to the market. Sorry, hang on one second. When you go to the market there's no such thing as buying a small piece of ginger, so you have to buy the whole thing. Can't always use the whole thing, so either you make a lot of soup or you just mince it all up and kind of treat it like basil. Like when you go cook Italian food, you can't use the whole bunch of basil, so you chop it up and you put it in the freezer. But yeah, when you're done, you end up with something like this. And then what we're gonna do is, I guess we could just put it back in the cup, and we're gonna set this aside. So hopefully that'll gets down there.
Is there any replacement for soy sauce?
Replacement for soy sauce? If you have if anyone's gluten intolerant, there is tamari, which is the gluten-free soy sauce. Replacement soy sauce, you could do fish sauce and water. It requires a little balancing and trial and error.
And about how much ginger did you add if someone's trying to mimic that?
Ginger, I just put like I would say one teaspoon. And if you love ginger and you love the spice, you can add more, of course. Some people add garlic. Today we are not going to do garlic, but garlic is great. Like,
okay.
And if we want to get into detail about sauces, like there's sauces where you cook your own chili sauce, where you have oil. You got the chili peppers, but that's like another class to do, is a chili sauce.
Okay.
Cool. So we got this sauce. We're gonna put this aside because we're gonna be using this later to dress all our dumplings. And then we're gonna start with the wonton today because there's so much stuff here. I want to clear up some space.
Okay.
Let me. Actually, I don't need gloves. So chopsticks are great to mix stuff. Also, if you have gloves, you can also use your hands. Get your hands dirty. Right now, I'm just kind of opening up this meat, and then here I'm going to put the shrimp. And there's really no direct order. The only thing you don't put into this is you save the water for last. I put half a cup of water in the recipe, and I'll explain why I did that. So you got the cilantro, green onions. You don't need to put this if you're not a big fan of herbs, but I love herbs, so you put that in there. This is the chestnuts.
And was that in the recipe?
Yes, this is all in the recipe.
The chestnuts. Sorry.
Water chestnuts are in the recipe. Sesame oil. Let's get all that in there. Sesame oil is very nutty. You can't. It's very strong, so I put a little bit in there just so that it doesn't knock out all the other flavors. So you don't want to go too heavy-handed on sesame oil, because otherwise it's just going to be a sesame wonton. And then here we got the light soy sauce. I like using light soy sauce. You could use regular soy sauce if you can't find a light one. Light soy sauce, I feel it has a lower sodium, of course, and I feel like it helps like give it a more mute, not as salty.
Is light soy sauce the same as low sodium soy sauce?
Yeah, basically, yes. Because regular soy sauce is a little darker. Then there's dark soy sauce, which gives it too much color. So this is light soy sauce, perfect. Canola oil, I'm just adding some more oil in here to give it some more fat. Give a little stir here. And the recipe, I call for 2 eggs. Don't put both eggs in there. We're gonna put 1 egg in there, and the other egg we're going to use for making this little egg wash that we're gonna use to kind of fold the dumplings. And we're gonna do this shortly right after I do this. Cool, so we got the egg in there. Let's do the cornstarch. Cornstarch goes in. What else is there? Put some, I just believe this is kosher salt, just a dash. This is the ginger that we called for. Just dump it right in. And my favorite, vegetarian stir-fry sauce.
And people would love to see the brand of that vegetarian stir-fry sauce again.
It's a Lee Kum Kee.
All right, everyone, here it is.
It's I don't want to say it's life-changing, but it's very good for cooking, and it's not as salty. And I think that's the thing about Chinese food, Asian food in general, it's a lot of salt, and wherever you can reduce that, that'd be good. So now that you have all this stuff, you kind of just use your chopsticks.
I've never seen the chopsticks used in this way.
Yeah, like dumplings. There's a lot of random do's and don'ts. There are sayings where you kind of go in one direction, and I kind of go however I like. I'm just automatically going counterclockwise. I feel like it's just get the edges on.
This is the pork and shrimp wonton, everyone.
This is the pork and shrimp wonton. And then once all this stuff goes together and you're mixing, you can almost smell what this is going to taste like. The sesame oil is going to kind of pop up and all right. And then lastly, I had the half cup of water that I put there. We're not going to put the whole thing in there. And why we have water is basically water helps give your dumpling more texture because you're adding moisture to it. So if it's too dry, then you kind of have a dry dumpling. But when you put water, it's going to help. You want the water to kind of get into the meat. So if I show you right now the water I put in here, it's probably just like 2 tablespoons. I'm going to mix this, and it's going to get incorporated into the filling. So basically, the water becomes part of the filling. And the reason why you don't want to put all of it in there is because if you put too much water, then your filling is going to be too loose, and it's going to be very hard to work with. So what you got here. So I did not use the full half cup of water. So I just used like a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons. So we're going to move this aside.
What are there any other names for cilantro that you can think of? Someone says they're not sure what it's called in Australia. I'm trying to remember what it's called in Spanish.
Spanish is cilantro. Coriander.
Yeah, so, coriander. Yeah, that's what coriander. I'm thinking of.
I feel like that was like a trivia question.
Well, it looks like we've got someone from Australia cooking with us. That's pretty cool.
Oh, welcome.
Okay, so can we repeat everything that went into this so far? Because we moved a little quickly and we want to make sure everyone can keep up.
Oh, so sorry. So over here, basically, we had the part of the ingredients was the pork, green onions, cilantro. We have the shrimp that was diced, the water chestnuts that was, and if you have bamboo shoots is perfect. We also have a 1/4 cup of soy sauce. We have sesame oil, a little sugar, a little ginger, and missing something. Oh, the cornstarch to help bind it. Some canola oil, sesame oil, and
water
and the water kind of just to bind this all together. And don't use all the water, otherwise you're going to turn into a meat puddle.
So the purpose of adding water is just to make it more moist.
It makes it more moist, and then and you can try adding more later on. But if you do add too much, it's okay. You just gotta put it in the fridge so that when the meat gets cold, it'll kind of bind it a little better. So you want to keep this in a cool place because if it gets warm, it's gonna be very, very difficult to work with.
Was that regular sesame oil or toasted, by the way?
That was I used toasted sesame oil because toasted sesame oil is much stronger in flavor and you don't have to use too much. If you have a lighter sesame oil, that's a little tough. If you have a lighter sesame oil, I would not use the canola oil. I would replace that. And sorry about that. I would replace that, and I would use. I would just use all of the light sesame oil instead of canola oil. So that would be half a cup of oil, light sesame oil.
Okay, and someone says they added all of the water. What can she do?
Oh, you're fine. Don't worry.
Just keep mixing.
Just keep mixing, and like it should kind of like eat it. Everything should kind of come together. And then if worst case scenario, if it's like very, very, very loose, the filling, just put it in the fridge or the freezer for like 3 to 4 minutes, and it should kind of, and then just mix it back together, and you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm gonna set this aside, and we're gonna make the other fillings so that way we can make this a little more seamless. Oh, I'm sorry, I totally skipped it. So we have the second egg that we did not put in there. I'm gonna put this on the side, and this is gonna help us to fold the dumplings and make sure we get a perfect seal. People like to use water, but this is almost like a more reinforced version where you get like this perfect I guess, dumpling glue, I guess.
Yeah.
So let's just add some water.
How much water would you say you added?
Water, you could just do a splash, or you could go like 1-to-1 ratio with the egg.
Okay.
So the egg is probably like 1/4 cup. And you just want to get it until all the yolk is gone. And you know you have too much, you know you have too little water if it's like very, very thick. You don't want an omelet here. You just kind of want very thin egg type deal. So this is kind of perfect. It's kind of on your hand. But you see, when we fold, we're gonna like use this stuff and it'll all make sense and stuff.
Okay.
So this is here right here. And this is the wonton filling. So we're gonna put that there for a sec.
Okay, so someone accidentally put in both eggs. What can they do?
Oh, both eggs? Not the end of the world. You could find another pound of pork and dump it in there.
What if, I mean, what if she doesn't have more pork? Can she just try to make it work? Will it work?
You'll make it work.
Yeah,
We'll make it work. Did you put in the water yet? If you put in both eggs, do not put the water in there, because you're gonna have a very, that's where you're gonna end up with a very puddly filling.
Okay. And so now we're going to be doing the chicken coming up next. You
Yes,
already
chicken.
have done the shrimp and pork. And there was pepper in the shrimp and pork?
I'm sorry, guys. Yes, it was like right in front of my face. We're gonna put a pinch, and literally like a pinch to dust it.
Thanks, Violet.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. It's like right here, like obvious. I call for white pepper instead of black pepper because white pepper, it's more spicy and it's more present.
Yeah.
Black pepper is kind of more of like a finishing, like if you're doing like a steak
Mm-hmm.
and seasoning. But you can, if you put white pepper, you can almost smell it in there. Actually, don't smell too hard, you might sneeze.
All right.
All right, so
Shrimp
thank you
and
very
pork.
much, Violet. We got the white pepper in there. It's safe. So let's move on to the chicken dumpling. Or is there any questions?
People are just wondering like what they could do to make this vegetarian or vegan.
Oh, vegetarian, vegan. Oh, cool. Have no fear. So if you want to make this vegetarian or vegan, I do have a recipe that calls for spinach. And if you're a fan of like impossible meats or like artificial meats or gluten, like you can cook your spinach or a leafy green like kale. Then you can add mushrooms to that. You can add, excuse me, you get all the herbs, and I guess your meat would be the impossible meat, which is quite nice. And to bind it all together, you would not put the egg. I think you would just kind of up your cornstarch a little bit, so it kind of like turns into like this, like a little binding thing paste. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then but it is a little more difficult to fold. But you could just add more Beyond Meat to this. So let's say a recipe would be 1/2 pound of Beyond Meat to maybe 1 pound of kale that's cooked and chopped, or 1 pound of spinach that's cooked in actually spinach maybe 2 pounds and cooked and drained and chopped.
All right. So now on to the chicken and chive dumplings.
So chicken chive dumplings. I got a new pair of chopsticks. Gonna open this up, and here then we have we're gonna put this green chives in there. I call for a cup because you really want to be present in dumpling. So that's all in there. So this is 1 cup, and once you mix it in, it's not even gonna look like a cup. We'll put the sesame oil. Toasted sesame oil. And if you have the regular sesame oil, just do not use the canola oil. We'll just use the all light sesame oil. I'm gonna put my canola oil. This is the sugar. Just drop that right in. Dash your kosher salt. The ginger, we'll drop that right in also. Try to scoop that out so I don't lose any. The vegetarian stir fry sauce. Then we have the light soy sauce. And we have the cornstarch. And this time we're going to do the pepper. Also a pinch of black pepper.
White pepper.
White pepper,
Yeah.
yes, white pepper. Now that it's all in there, you could just start mixing it up, and we'll give it a little head start first so we see what we're working with. Don't put the water in yet. Kind of want to get all this together first, see incorporated, and then we'll see what the water situation looks like.
Let's see if we have any questions.
And if you guys aren't comfortable with chopsticks, you guys could also use gloves to mix this. It might be a little quicker.
And no egg, right?
This one is no egg, correct.
So the chili sauce goes in the sauce, right?
The chili sauce goes into sauce, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Nancy, the chili sauce should have been added to your sauce mixture that we made at the top of the program.
At the top of one, correct.
Yeah. And how much cornstarch goes into this one?
Like about a tablespoon, pretty much.
Okay.
Cool. So we have everything's kind of bundled together, and this is where I'm gonna just splash a little water. I'm not gonna go all the way, just do a little, and you kind of see a pool up in here. And what you want to do is kind of just incorporate it in.
Probably only put like a tablespoon in there maximum, right?
I do like a tablespoon-ish. And even that, it looks like it's already pretty good already. So and then again, so yeah, we're not going to use the full half cup that I called for.
Mhm.
So stuff that out.
So besides the vegetarian stir fry, you said you can use oyster sauce. Someone's asking again.
Yes.
There's nothing else really that's a comparable substitute?
Comparable substitute. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so someone wants to know what the difference is between a wonton wrapper and a pot sticker wrapper.
Wonton wrapper usually has like an egg in there, so it's as close as pasta as you can get. And also the wrapping is a little thinner. And then what was the other question? Pot sticker?
Yeah,
pot sticker, the dough is a little different. It has more. It has a little more. It's a little thicker because it needs to be boiled and then pan fried or however it is, so it's more versatile. And that does not contain egg. It's just usually all flour, mixture of high and low glutens. So.
Okay, and is there ever an alternative ingredient for cornstarch?
You could use potato starch.
Okay. So if someone's using wonton wraps for the whole shebang,
You're fine.
they're fine.
Just don't pan fry that wonton. But if you don't pan fry wonton, you can actually fry the wonton. But we were not able to do the frying part, so that's not fun. And if you feel comfortable about it, you could fold it into. You could fold the filling into a wonton, and then you can fry it raw. And then when it gets the color that you want, then it's cooked.
And if their chicken filling is really gloopy, do they just add more like cornstarch?
Really gloopy?
I'm not sure what gloopy means. Let's see, Ruby, can you tell us more about what you mean by gloopy?
Like will it hold its shape if you pick it up, or it's kind of like a soup where it's just
she'll let us. She says it's very wet.
Very wet. Okay. You could save that by either putting some more cornstarch in there, maybe like another tablespoon, or if you have some chicken meat lying around, you could toss some more chicken meat in there.
Great, thank you. All right, so what's up next?
Okay, so now that we got all the fillings here ready, we are going to.
What's going on with the water over here?
The water's just kind of chilling here because we're gonna go to the fun part now to make dumplings. So there's two wrappers. So yeah, this is the wonton wrapper. It's like extremely thin. It's kind of like I said. You can see that.
Very thin.
Very, very thin. And then this is the, it's the pot sticker wrapper. But
you can see it's thicker.
It's a little thicker. But I got the packaged one. If we have time, I'll show you guys the dough that you make.
Okay.
Well, let's start with the chicken dumpling. So one thing about, you don't want to put too much filling. You put too much filling, then you get a really big dumpling, and that really big dumpling will take a long time to cook.
So that's maybe like what, a teaspoon?
This is like a Yeah, like a teaspoon, tablespoon.
Too much is not the way to go.
Too much is not the way to go. And then usually once you get it on, you like to see an edge here, so that way you know you can close it. Because if this thing was all the way to the edge, there's no way to close it.
Right.
So now we have that. And we have our egg thing here that we made earlier. Just dip a finger, and you kind of just pick an edge, just go halfway, and you kind of just bring it over.
So what are you doing there on the edges? You're just kind of sealing it like an envelope?
Yeah, I'm sealing like an envelope. So.
Oh, can you do that move again where you put your thumbs on it?
Oh yeah, this is so basically your finger is like a natural hook. This takes some time to get used to, but your finger's like a natural hook. You kind of make it like that, and you got your thumb, and you do perfect seal.
Cool.
And then you have yourself a dumpling here. There are other ways to fold it, but we're gonna keep it as simple today as possible.
All right, let's see how people are doing.
And I'm gonna keep making dumplings. We're gonna make about I'm gonna make about how many am I making? I'm making like 10 to 12 because we're gonna be boiling this and pan frying it. So yeah, so I got my filling here. Don't put too much. You put too much, you're not gonna have really consistent cooking with all dumplings. So try to keep it as consistent as possible. Otherwise.
Oh, right. So this is the chicken dumpling. So the chicken mix
chicken.
should be going in this.
This is a chicken. Sorry, yes, guys. This is the chicken and green chive dumpling.
All right. And this is a different fold for the wonton. So if someone's only got wontons, how should they be doing
got it.
this?
Cool. If you got a wonton, I'm just gonna skip to here. I mean, I'm not lurching anything, so I'm gonna just use my same thing. You hold this, get a filling. Don't put too much. You put too much, then you have a very big filling thing, and you can't close it. Same thing. You pick an edge, and then you just fold it up. So I like doing triangles, and from here you can make like stuff, and then just give it like a nice good squeeze to lock it in, and you got yourself a little wonton. If you want to do, there are other ways to do it.
Let's see you do that again.
There is this method here where you kind of just fold it up and
fold it in thirds.
You fold in thirds, and you can do this bend thing.
Ooh, that looks easy.
But I like this one because it's more prettier. It looks like a little fishtail. So, and if you're entertaining guests, like the little fishtail thing, it looks quite nice. So yeah, so I got the filling in there. One edge. Triangle, bring it back. And then once you have the triangle closed, you could just push in. Once you get all those crimps in there, give it a nice good close. You just give it like a nice little squeeze and kind of sit there.
All right.
But
great.
So whoever had a wonton, you could play around with that, or you can make any shape you like. Because really, wontons, all this stuff is just supposed to be fun. So it's just really there's no right and wrong to this.
So what's this wooden utensil you're using? What's that called?
Sorry, I didn't put this in the curricular because it's probably really hard to find. Let me find it's like a bamboo filling thing.
Let's get a close up. It's just it's like a
bamboo stick. It's specifically for making dumplings. And what's so amazing about this, it has these lines here, which helps you, which is very good for sliding the filling off, because the filling could get pretty sticky. So, but since not a lot of people have this, I'm going to use a spoon just in case. So, pick this fellow back up because I just dropped it.
So canola oil was added to the mixture for chicken, right? Okay, yes. And can use just shrimp and no pork? It probably won't hold as well, right? For the shrimp and pork wontons?
You could use, what was that? Just shrimp, no
pork.
Yeah. You could use well, if you just use shrimp, then you're doing more bahakao. It's not that's like a totally different recipe. Okay. You might need to add like more eggs and more cornstarch, because you need to somehow bind all that stuff together.
Right.
Maybe you could use Beyond Meat. to kind of like you to change
Mimic
pork.
this.
Oh, because I'm sorry. Yeah, there's probably a lot of some religious people that do not eat pork. But yeah, you substitute with chicken. You can substitute with and if you're just a pescatarian, yeah, you could just use the Beyond Meat, which is a good option. But let me try to get some more of these. So yeah, if you have a spoon, it's not the end of the world. You just same thing. You just gotta get a little filling. But if you have a lot of people to help you with this, you could also do a situation where you kind of just lay these all out.
Someone says, can you buy the dumpling already made, ready to cook?
Yes, you should. That's so much less work. But
you sell them, don't you?
I do sell them. So if you are in the States, we actually work with Goldbelly that ships our dumplings overnight with UPS. So if you go on our website, you can go look for all that frozen dumplings.
Dumplingmonster.com?
Yeah, dumplingmonster.com.
For frozen dumplings. All right, I'm putting that as a typed answer so folks can reference that.
So to keep us on time, I'm just gonna kind of just rush through some of these dumplings.
And then if you can show the three-fold method again, I think she's talking about the wontons. When you get to the wontons, that would be great.
Will do. And I'm moving a little fast here because I just want to make sure I get these in the water and
yes,
I can fit this all in. But I'm going to slow down for the last two so we can see exactly what's going on here.
All right, we've got a little army going here.
Yep. So I'm making 6 to 12 of these. You guys could, and I'm making 6 to 12 because I want to boil half and pan fry half for you guys. So we have 10, 10. Let's do 12. I think I have time for 12. So.
Great.
So, and then the last one, I'm gonna do very slowly for you guys. So yeah, got it in your hand right here. Get your filling, don't put too much. Just get it right in there. And then just kind of dab it on the edge on one side. No need to do two sides because this thing's gonna help. And then you kind of just close it up. That's it.
All right.
So while that's going, let's bring up our water to a boil. I feel like my water got reduced a little bit too much, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more.
So you'd say you have maybe like what, 3-4 cups in there?
It's more so, it's about a quart of water.
Quart.
Yeah.
All right, so we're increasing the heat to make it come to a boil.
Yeah, you want to have your water high boil, and then you want to start the water hot, and then later on you can bring it back down, and I'll explain why when all these dumplings get in there.
Okay.
So we got. So I'm going to set these aside, and they're going to get dropped in a second. While that's happening, we're going to continue to make some more dumplings.
Great.
We're not going to be using this fella anymore. That's the chicken, but we're going to move our way back to the shrimp and pork.
Shrimp and pork.
So we have these two here. I'm gonna get back to my little filling stick because actually I'll do one without that. We'll use the spoon just so you guys can not feel like that. So yeah, you got like just a little filling here. Same thing. You don't want to put too much. You put too much, then there's a very strong possibility
won't hold.
It won't hold, and you won't get a good close. So I put it in the center, got it on the edge.
Okay, so this is the fan method, or what do you call this folding method that you're doing?
Yeah, I want to call it goldfish.
Goldfish.
It does look like a goldfish tail, and then when it cooks, you'll see what I mean.
Okay.
So yeah, now that you got your triangle, you can leave it like this if you like, if you're comfortable with this. But to make it more nicer, you can do this method where you just push it in, and then you kind of just get it all together. Once it's all bundled into a shape that you're happy with, you just give it a little squeeze, and that should hold together.
Okay.
And then when it cooks, it'll hold.
And then the 3 folds.
The 3 folds. Okay. The 3-fold is, so we got the filling here.
So instead of folding it diagonally,
so we're not doing triangle, we're doing 3-fold. So we have to get this part sticky.
Top edge.
To top edge, yeah. And then 1. And then it's trifold.
Turn it over.
You get the little sticky here, and then you kind of go like this, and
bring the edges together, and then kind of press them together.
Press them together, and this stuff is strong. It'll help. If you use water, it's not gonna be as good. If you use nothing, this is not gonna hold. So
okay,
we'll leave that there. We'll cook these fellas too.
And how many of the wontons are you making for the demonstration?
I'll just do 8 since 8 is a lucky number.
It's my lucky number too.
So that's all right. Here, my water boiling. I'm gonna drop this guy here, and so that way we can keep things going. So let's put the dumpling in here. I like to do them one at a time. Once you get it in, keep the water hot so that way it doesn't take too long to recover the temperature. If your water is not hot enough, your dumplings is going to be very soggy and stick to the bottom.
So bring it to a boil and keep it on high.
Keep it on high, yeah, and then get it all in there. And then once all the dumplings are in there, you want to give it a quick stir.
So they don't stick together.
So they do not stick together. Because if you leave your dumplings like that, it's gonna stick to the bottom, and you're not gonna be happy. But I'm moving too slow already. But yeah, once all the dumplings in there, you give it a nice little stir. And
keep it on high.
Keep it on high, yeah. And then just keep an eye on it. Once it starts bubbling very strong, bring it down to like a medium simmer, because you want it to keep moving so that you don't want it too low so the dumplings are going to sit at the bottom. You don't want it too high where it's going to overcook the filling and make it soggy, because soggy dumplings are not good.
So what do you do if you have leftover wrappers? She thinks that Nancy who says that feels like she always has leftover wrappers.
Oh, wrappers stay for a long time. So if you're not using all your wrappers, either A, you could just make all the wonton, make whatever dumpling that you're making, and then freeze it all so that way you have it ready. If you don't feel like working today, you can just wrap it into plastic wrap and leave it in your freezer, and they actually last for a pretty long time in the freezer.
Okay.
Just don't microwave to defrost it, otherwise you just throw it away. But yeah, so here we go. It's the water's back, it's recovered. So I'm gonna give it one more stir, and I'm gonna bring the water down so that way it's not cooking too much, and it's gonna cook the chicken.
It's medium.
It's a medium, so it's a medium heat.
So while you keep folding, can I ask you some more questions?
Yeah, I'll bring it on.
All right. So we're boiling for both chicken and pork dumplings, right?
Yes.
First, we're putting in the chicken dumplings, and then the pork and shrimp wontons will go in.
Yeah, we're gonna fish out the chicken wontons, right. And then we'll put the chicken dumplings, the chicken and green chive dumplings, and then we're gonna put the wonton in there after.
And about how long are these boiling for?
These boil for, to be safe, it's like 8 to 12 minutes. Usually when it floats to the top, you can safely say it's cooked, but there's a lot of times I get faked out by the dumpling. So I kind of let it, that's why we bring the fire down a little bit, so that way it's going to gently cook the meat and not overcook your wrapper, because if it overcooks the wrapper will fall apart.
So boiling for like the first minute, but then medium heat for like 10 more minutes.
Yes, medium for 10 more minutes, and then yeah. So and then also that's where we go. If you put too much filling, then it needs more time. So you try to stay consistent, and you do like a little filling, because I guess dumplings are meant to be like a nice little bite, not so much like a big bite.
And is boiling better than steaming?
You could steam. No, they're about the same. But it really depends. If you're doing steaming, then you have to. There's not quite. There's no wrapper. I guess you could steam that wrapper, but a better steaming dough would not be a wrapper. It would be making dough from scratch. Okay.
So these pre-made wrappers are not ideal for steaming.
Pre-made wrappers are not ideal for steaming. I do have like a second here, so maybe I do have a fresh dough here. We can probably just do.
We're at 5:46, by the way.
Okay.
15 minutes.
Cool. So I have some fresh dough here. We didn't do that for the program today because it takes quite some time to do this, and it's very consistent. It takes a lot of trial and error. But since someone did ask about the steamed dumpling, this dough, it's basically like 2 cups of flour to half a cup of water. And you could steam this, you could boil it, you could pan fry it, but then the wrapper, you could steam it, but it's just not as good as boiling it because it's meant to be boiled.
Okay.
But yeah, so if assuming we had this in this system class, yeah, we would have ourselves a dumpling here. And I'm just gonna show you how, if we did it, but yeah, you got the little dumpling, the little divot here. And this is what, and then this would be, you know, if we're doing a soup dumpling class, this is what we're gonna be having fun with, but we're not gonna be doing that because that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So yeah, we would do these. Get like a nice little circle going, and then, oops, got a little fold here. And then this is where we bring it in. And this is where you get fun with a lot of different types of folds. But we're gonna do the same fold that I did. And this one, since it's a fresh dough, we don't need the wash.
Wow.
So, but it's the same technique. And then this is boiled dumplings. So it looks like a little, man.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But yeah, so this is perfect for steaming, boiling, pan frying. And there's a lot to this. Maybe in the future, if we have more time or another lesson, it'd be really fun to do this because playing with dough is amazing.
All right, so
these dumplings are about done, and I'm going to fish these guys out because they're all on the top, and you can see like it's almost like puffing up right there. And if you're not sure if the dumplings cooked, you could just turn your fire off and just let it sit on the fire. I'm pretty confident my dumplings are cooked. So
if you turn off the fire and they're still floating, you know they're cooked?
You know they're cooked, and then they'll gently cook. So that way, how can I, what is this compared to? It's kind of like having al dente pasta. Like you're almost there, but you're not too sure. So you just kind of let it sit there so that you get the texture and you want. But for us, we want to make sure the filling is cooked. We're gonna fish this out. These guys are not gonna stick together as much because we put the oil in there.
Right.
So
Canola oil in
the water. In the water, yeah. So we'll set this aside. Since that's out and we have a little time left, we're gonna now put the wontons in there. Same thing, and we'll just drop it in, make sure the water is kind of boiling and moving. Get that in there, get the water to back to high. And once it all gets in there, give it a nice stir so it doesn't stick on the bottom. If you're a little slow on this, you'll feel it stick to the bottom, but don't worry, just gently move it around. So we'll just let that sit there. But we're also doing pan-fried dumplings. So get yourself a non-stick. I don't have any fancy gear at home. I have whatever. But yeah, so this will do for me. So we're gonna turn this on too.
If someone's making wonton soup, do the wontons have to be boiled separately, or can they boil them in the soup?
Oh, if you're making wonton soup, you would boil the wontons separately, because if you boil the raw wonton inside the soup, then your soup is no longer the soup that you want. It's gonna be like a wonton water.
Okay.
Yeah, so you boil it separately, so that way it doesn't the flavor of the wonton wrapper doesn't get into your soup.
So there's no oil or anything in here, huh?
There's no oil or anything yet, but I'm going to put oil in there.
And we also have a question.
Yeah.
When we pan fry these tasty jewels, can we get the same crispy outside as you can with a pot sticker?
Yes, you can. Oh, sorry. There is a lot of methods to pan frying dumplings. I forgot to tell you guys that. There is a method where you cook it and you freeze it. That is the more traditional method to pan fry dumplings, where you put it into a nonstick pan, get it screaming hot, and then you put your frozen dumplings in there with a little oil. Kind of let it sit until the bottom browns a little bit. And then you add like water, and you just put a lid, low fire, and it kind of cooks itself. And then when the water's gone, that's how you know the dumplings are done. And then you kind of let it sit to get the color. But we're cheating a little bit since we have such limited time. But first, let's put, so these dumplings are done. We're gonna put here.
About half of them, yeah?
We're gonna put half of them here. And then this other half, just make sure there's not a lot of water because you don't want to splatter or hurt yourself with that. So this pan has got a little hot. We're gonna put a little water in here. Oh, sorry, oil, not water. Don't put oil and water together in a hot pan. That's gonna be not good. So we put a little oil in here, about a tablespoon, just good enough to coat the bottom.
Canola, not olive oil.
Canola, not olive, yeah. And then from here, I'm gonna carefully, you guys don't have to follow along, but you should probably let the dumplings dry a little bit, but I'm gonna put this right here. Try to get as much water out as possible with that. So. And that might splatter some. I'm gonna let that here. Now I'm gonna lower the fire to a low heat, so that way, because the dumplings are already cooked, we don't want it to cook any further. We just want to get some color on it, because everyone loves crunchy things. So. Give them some room. Make sure they're spread apart so that way they're evenly crispy. We'll just let that sit here. We probably have like a minute here. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, so someone's wondering if we are serving tomorrow, can we cook them today or how do we store them?
I would not suggest cooking it today because the wrapper is going to get very mushy. And the wrapper does taste best when you cook it day up. So
if they're making it today but cooking tomorrow, should they keep them in the fridge or in the freezer?
Oh, got it, the filling. So if you're making the filling today, I would say you could, I'm sorry, if you're making the dumpling today, wrapping, not cooking, I would say wrap all your dumplings and put it on a tray or a plate and freeze it. Because if you don't freeze it, the meat has moisture and it's going to change the texture of your wrapper.
And then you take them straight from the freezer, you said either into the pan or into the boiling water.
Yes. So if you're putting it into boiling water, same thing. They're like, you just toss them into the water, high heat, super rolling boil, and then once you put in the frozen dumplings, it's going to change the temperature, bring it down, and then you wait for it to kind of recover and start boiling hard again, and you turn it down to a low simmer. And for frozen dumplings, you want to spend a little more time. I would say you would end up cooking at the 12-minute mark, just to make sure everything's cooked all the way.
Okay.
So the wontons are done. So I'm going to fish these guys out. I like a lot of color, so I'm going to let that sit for a second. Wontons, yeah, they look good. They're all floating and they're kind of like puffy. You see that bubble over there? That means it's like really cooking. Get all this water out. Oh, if you're working next to oil, be careful, don't get
Water in the oil, yeah.
Don't want to do that.
All right, so now we have boiled chicken dumplings and boiled shrimp and pork wontons.
These guys are just all that color. And also, like, you know, this is just dumpling dough. There's a lot of different dumpling doughs. There's a lot of wrappers to pick from. So each wrapper will give you a different color. But if you really like the restaurant kind of texture, if you have a lot of time, you can play around with the dough, and this is fun to make. And you'll get what you like from it. Okay, so these guys are kind of, it has a color on one side. We're just going to put it in.
I'm doing perfect on time. Got 5 minutes.
All right, sorry, they kind of clumped up a little bit together, but that's the casualty of using.
So if they clumped up, just separate them, yeah?
Yeah, just separate them. But cool, so that's there. And then now we have this amazing sauce that we made for all this stuff. So I'll explain what I'm doing here. With pan fried dumplings, it's always nice to dip on the side, as well as the boiled dumplings. So I keep that aside. Let's start with the wonton first. Yeah. Wontons, everyone likes that oil and that soup of oil on top, that chili stuff. So I don't know, the hot sauce I picked today, it has this beautiful layer of oil. I don't know if you can see that. Once you put that in there, it's perfect. I also have some green onions and cilantro. I love herbs, so we're just gonna put it there, just kind of bouge it up a little bit. And this one here, you know, you got yourself a dipping sauce. We're not gonna use a spoon, it's too small. So we're just gonna go here. You could, you know, same thing, add some greens to make it like pretty and like garnish. Same thing here.
This looks amazing.
I had sesame seeds here. It didn't call for it, but if you do happen to have sesame seeds around, sesame seeds give extra crunchy texture and makes that even more prettier. Here, you want to put on a plate, you probably put in sauce, but here we go. So we have the wontons, the boiled chicken and chive dumpling, and the pan-fried chicken chive dumpling.
Amazing! Thank you so much, Chef. Thank you for inviting us into your home. Thank you for cooking with us and teaching us all of your tricks. This was amazing. So this is the official program end. We do have a couple questions. So while people are enjoying their wontons and their dumplings, maybe you can answer a couple last remaining questions.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, great. So people are wondering, where's the best place to get Chinese ingredients on the west side of LA?
West side?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That is like it's really tough, but you're okay. Mitsua and Najia, it's a great option. If you're on Venice and Centinela, I used to frequent there a lot and get a lot of ingredients. Granted, it's a little more expensive, but you don't have to drive as far. They have amazing meat there. They have the sesame oil, they have the soy sauces, different types. Everything's very fresh. So Mitsua and Najia was actually a great option. I happened to not mention that. I'm sorry. But also on the west side, if you do have a car and you want to go like a really Asian market, you can go north to Van Nuys. There is a 99 Ranch up there, or you can go south. There is like a 99 Ranch or Ranch 99.
Okay.
They're one of the.
I think it's 99 Ranch.
So yeah, one of the two. Yeah. So. Okay,
and someone's wondering if you know if there are gluten-free wrappers that are pre-made.
Oh, gluten-free wrapper. That is a tough one. You could do if you want to do gluten-free, you could make yourself. I mean, even rice flour is hard. Well, gluten-free wrapper would be the hagao wrapper, which would be tapioca and rice flour.
Do you know how to spell that? Hagao?
Hargow. And that's not something you can buy pre-made. It's something you have to make at home, and a lot of dumpling chefs spend lots of years kind of like making that perfect wrapper. But it's translucent, it's gluten-free, it's made from rice and tapioca starch. So that could be a good option. But you cannot boil dumplings or do stuff like this.
Any thoughts on dessert dumplings?
Dessert dumplings. Yeah, you could like wrappers it's kind of fun. You could put anything in there. So if you have but I would not boil a dessert dumpling. I would steam a dessert dumpling.
Right.
So if we, for instance, had this fresh dough, or maybe we could probably get away with using the boiled dumpling wrapper. You could put like red bean in there, or taro, or what else is there? Mochi, and then you can steam it. Yeah, so you cannot boil these dessert dumplings because it's not going to work, but you can steam it. I've seen steamed dumplings.
If you fried the dumpling without boiling it first, it wouldn't cook properly?
If you fry dumpling without cooking it, it will cook properly. It's just a different technique. What we did, we just put the cooked dumpling in there, kind of just to speed up the limited time we have. But you could just, instead of dropping these fellows inside to the boiled water, you could just drop it into the pan with a little oil. But then again, you also want this to be frozen, so that way you get the better dumpling. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, that's all that we have time for today, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We hope that you'll join us again for our next program. You can find details on the closing slide. Thanks, everyone. Hope you enjoy your dumplings. Have a good day.
All right, take care, guys.